Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. If you're a focused learner, you're going to want to settle in for this one because we are diving deep into something literally all of us struggle with at some point: communicating under pressure. We're going to break down how to completely transform our reactive, emotion-driven talking into something built entirely on composed clarity. We're calling it elegant English. And by the end of our time together, you're going to walk away with a brand new toolkit for handling conflict and frustration. Okay, let's dive into this. Why do we say no worries when, let's be real, we are actually incredibly worried? I want you to really reflect on that for a second. Why do we default to these impulsive little lies when our emotions are running high? We often find ourselves downplaying our true feelings, reacting purely out of habit, or just rushing to brush off a problem simply because we don't have the words to handle it in the moment. The source material points out something fascinating. We often know exactly what we feel, but we just do not know how to actually say it. And a huge reason we default to those basic reactions is this: the emotionally exhausted mind. You know that feeling? Not just sleepy tired, but life tired. When you're emotionally full, it feels like your mind literally has too many tabs open, and half of them are playing music you can't even find. Our source beautifully points out that not everything deserves this much space in your head, and not everything deserves your emotional energy. When our minds get overloaded like a crashing computer, our speech naturally becomes reactive, defensive, and, well, pretty basic. So that brings us to part one. What exactly is elegant English? Listen, elegant English isn't about busting out a dictionary or using big, complicated words. It's highly usable language. It's about using better expression to show reflection rather than impulse. And it absolutely does not rely on fake sophistication. The real elegance comes from holding control over your feelings. It's about taking that chaotic, messy impulse you feel inside and processing it into a fast, clear sentence. It's not about stuffing down or hiding what you feel. It's about communicating it with total precision and grace. As this quote says, actually, calm people sound more powerful. And wow, is that true? When you delay a rapid-fire reaction, something pretty amazing happens internally. Holding back that angry or defensive response allows your ego to sit down for a minute, which in turn gives your logical mind the space to stand up and take the wheel. When you communicate from a place of calm reflection instead of loud impulse, your words carry infinitely more weight and power. Moving right along to part two, describe behavior, don't attack. And this brilliantly illustrates the whole concept. On one side, you have your basic reaction, which usually means attacking the person when you feel slighted or irritated. But on the other side, you have the elegant approach. I'd appreciate if you didn't speak to me that way. Notice how composed that is? There's no background noise. There's only clarity. It is completely missing that emotional outburst, yet it firmly addresses the issue head-on. To unpack that a bit more, there's a brilliant distinction here. One line attacks the person, the other describes the behavior. It's a real game changer. When you attack a person, you're practically inviting a defensive counterattack. But when you simply and calmly describe the behavior that's bothering you, you preserve your own dignity. And preserving your dignity matters so much, especially when you are deeply upset. I mean, how often does someone ask, "Hey, are you angry?" And we just instinctively drop the classic lie, "I'm not angry." We have all done it. But consider the elegant alternative. "I'm trying to understand why this affected me." This completely flips the dynamic. Instead of a reflexive lie, you're pausing to find the real feeling underneath. It's so much more accurate, it's honest without sounding helpless, and it invites actual understanding rather than pointless conflict. All right, part three, setting boundaries with elegance. Picture this.
Someone keeps canceling on you at the last minute. The basic complaint is usually just a frustrated vent session, right? But the elegant boundary sounds like this. I know things come up, but this has happened a few times now, and it doesn't feel very considerate. See how clean and soft that phrasing is? Yet it effectively holds the boundary without any unnecessary drama. It gets right to the heart of the matter.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it shatters a super common myth. Soft language doesn't mean soft boundaries. It shows control. So often, we get it in our heads that if we don't yell or if we aren't incredibly harsh, people will just think we're weak. Actually, scratch that. The exact opposite is true. Speaking softly but directly signals immense self-control. It proves to the room that you are not being controlled by your emotions, but rather you are managing them elegantly.
And look, if you ever worry that setting these boundaries means you're asking for too much, take a step back. What do you actually expect from people? You expect clarity, you expect respect, you expect care. I really want to reassure you here, as the source context heavily emphasizes, expecting these basic elements is completely normal. It never ever means you are asking for too much. It just means you know your worth.
Which leads us to part 4, the wisdom of delay. Delayed response is not weakness, it's wisdom. Just let that sink in for a second. Sometimes staying quiet in the moment feels incredibly irritating, but taking a moment of silence in the heat of a conversation is actually a highly strategic, totally powerful move. It's the ultimate tool to give your mind that vital second to close a few of those open tabs we talked about earlier. Let's see how this builds into a really precise 3-step framework for catching your breath during an overwhelming moment. Step 1, acknowledge the feeling. Don't fake it. Step 2, ask for space by simply saying, I just need a little time to process this. That buys you your peace. And step 3, when you return, re-engage by explicitly stating, I'm trying to handle this calmly. This immediately signals self-control to the other person and sets the baseline for a productive adult conversation. And that brings us to the conclusion.
So the crucial point is right here. Elegant lines don't hide your feelings. They hold them properly. True elegance is honest. It's specific. It's calm. It's really about taking the total messiness of human emotion and packaging it in a way that respects both yourself and the person you're talking to. It is not about pretending you don't hurt. It's about processing that hurt with profound clarity. I want to leave you with a final, really striking question to chew on. The source material reminds us that the way we speak to others is so often the exact way we speak to ourselves. So, if the voice in your head becomes the room you sit in all day, how elegant is your room? Every single time you choose composed clarity over a basic knee-jerk reaction, you aren't just communicating better with the outside world, you are decorating your own internal room with peace and respect. Think about that the next time you're tempted to just say, no worries. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.